Hi there, baby boomers. I'm John France, author of the For the Love of Baby Boomers book and for these YouTube podcasts like the one you're watching. Today, we are featuring our very first silent generation guest, Bob Anderson. Morning, Bob.
Morning, John.
Bob's a valued friend. We've known each other for a few years. We met each other through our volunteer work at Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Ozaki County here in Wisconsin. Bob has a degree in mechanical engineering from the Milwaukee School of Engineering. Bob retired in 2004 after 36 years with Rockwell Automation Allen Bradley, a global electrical automation business. Various assignments include sales and sales management, marketing, general management, and his most recent assignment was vice president, general manager of the Four Systems engineer to order business, which sounds like a very big job. um, Bob has also been very involved in different volunteer activities. So, past small business counselor for SCORE, past Now for Life Charity Foundation, which is about clean water for third world countries, past corporate board member of Milwaukee School of Engineering, board member of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Ozaki County, and facilitator for Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group. Bob is a father, a grandfather, and a great grandfather, and a great friend to many. So, welcome, Bob. And I wonder if you wouldn't start by sharing with our viewers what's going on in these pictures once I get them up.
Okay.
That they should be up now.
So that's a young-looking Bob at his desk and later in my career at Rockwell Automation. Um, I had a wonderful 36-year career um, with a great company. They're a decent, moral company, and I enjoyed the whole thing. I started as a sales engineer right out of college, and worked my way up through the organization. Very fortunate to have lots of opportunities. I ended up um, having a new job assignment every 4 to 5 years. Um, most of them were great. I had one that wasn't very pleasant, but I even learned from that non-pleasant opportunity how to pick your boss, for example. Um, they spent a lot of time training us both in-house. We were sent to Columbia University and a number of universities for week-long programs and so on. So, I think the exciting thing for me was the amount I learned, and learned how to be a businessman, how to run a business, and so on. Um, Part of that was that in the last assignment, these four businesses I ran were all global businesses. So um, I learned and became very worldly, which I cherish because I understood the cultures around the world, how you do business around the world, and it was very exciting. Um, the only negative to that is the wear and tear on your body of international travel. I was probably, if you're going to Asia, it was a 2 week run for me, and it was not good for my family, my wife especially. Me being gone, something always happened when I ended up in Asia, for example. So, and I'm still a little burned out on international travel, but all in all, what a wonderful experience it was. And I can't say enough about the company. On the right are a big and a little, and that's the terms we use. You'll hear them a lot during the discussion today from Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Ozaki County. It's a wonderful organization, and I think most of your audience probably knows a lot about Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and what a terrific job they do for youth and the community. But we mentor children, and we mentor children from the ages of 5 through 18. Um, Most of these mentorships, even though they end formally, I have a friend, John, who was a big brother 25 years ago. He still communicates with his little, and the little calls him all the time for advice, and they still plan together. So they form relationships over the years that are very good. Um, the littles come from the parents. We don't do any solicitation of littles. The parents contact us, and for example, many of the parents are single parent families, and perhaps as an example, a mother might want a son to have a male influence, so they will ask for a big brother for that son. We have two social workers in the organization that do the matches, and the matches are very difficult to do. They have to make sure the personalities work right, that everything works together. And then, in addition to that, they monitor the relationships um, over the years and make sure they are still working. I would like to read some of the impacts of what happens once they are mentored. We did an impact survey, and it said 94% of the littles reported an improvement in having goals and plans for the future. 100% of the littles report on improvement in resisting pressure from peers to engage in risk-taking behavior. That would be like drugs or alcohol. And 100% of the littles report an improvement in understanding the importance of performing well in school. And, you know, those are our objectives, and I have to say they do a nice job of it.
Oh, how that's terrific. I was there's a quote from Pablo Picasso. It says, "The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away."
It's
And clearly, you have a great gift, and you're giving it away, and I think it's just awesome. And you're an inspiration to other people by doing that. You would you like to also mention your work with Alzheimer's?
Yeah, my wife had Alzheimer's and lived with about 12 years of it, which is it's a horrible disease. And but it's just as hard being a caregiver. So, and I was the caregiver for the majority of it. And I attended a caregiver support group and got so much out of it that after she passed, I actually started one and have been running it for about 4 years. And it's really important. They get so much information from their peers. You know, it's not just me, um, but everybody gives suggestions, and you get a lot of the ability to express yourself and get things off your chest and understand how to handle certain situations. So that's been pretty rewarding too.
That's that's terrific. I'm sure it means a great deal to everybody that's involved with it there. So this program and the book and the podcasts are about aging well, and you're such a positive role model. I just might ask, a few questions. One being, how has aging changed your life? How has it changed your dreams?
Yeah, well, as far as how it's changed my life, I've certainly slowed down a bit, as we all do. Hopefully, mostly just physically. Um, but I still have to make a difference every day. That's part of who I am. It's kind of the foundation of my net worth. I can't sit around. I have to be busy. I don't know I'm old until I look in the mirror and there's my father peering back at me. Um,
Yep.
so as far as dreams and goals go, I feel pretty strongly about this point. You know, when you have a career, or for that many any job, I mean, you have your goals, you have your dreams, you have your aspirations, and then one day you retire, and so you're going 100 miles an hour, and you're an important person, and you have all these dreams and goals, and then the next day you're a retiree with nothing to do, and I think that many seniors have a tough time with retiring. I had a tough time with retiring. I gave notice so they could get somebody to replace me about a year ahead, and so I had a lot of time to think about it and everything else. And a lot of people stumble. I think a lot of seniors stumble after retirement, go inward and not outward. Um, I had to make a decision, so I decided that I was going to um, give back. I was very fortunate. I was very grateful for what I had, and so I decided to give back. So a day and a half after I retired, I joined an organization called SCORE, which is part of the Small Business Administration, and we counsel small businesses, and we do a lot of training. So I did counseling for about 15 years. I did training. I taught business planning, strategic planning, marketing, and so on, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was a step function in helping me use what skills I had and also give back.
Yeah, great. Um, so you got involved with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Why did you decide to get involved with that?
Um, well, I had stopped doing the counseling, the SCORE counseling. I felt that I was a little dated after about 15 years of not being with business, and it was time to do something different. So I quit that, and then I started looking around where I could make an impact, and I still wanted to use the skills I developed in business. But I looked at impacting, and so I believed in their program. I interviewed a lot of their people. I witnessed the results, and when you can um, influence the life of a child and their many years on this earth, that's pretty profound. It's something that is is really a benefit to them and is lasting. So I like the people. I like the organization. I'm not a big brother, however. I'm on the board, and I use my skills to. I do the strategic planning, and I do marketing and a lot of other things that you and I have worked on together, actually.
Yep, yep. So the question I would have is um, particularly around the concept of a big. Uh, do you think seniors make good bigs?
Oh yeah. Just if you look at your life and all the wisdom that you have, all the experience that you've had, all the traditions that you've encountered, um, that's pretty spectacular. And you get a chance to share that with youth, which I think is um, a wonderful thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, about 24% of our um, bigs are senior citizens. And I have to honestly say that when I first joined, I toyed with being a big, and I really thought that, I probably was too old to relate to a young child. But after having been part of the organization and seeing the reaction between the bigs and the littles, um, there's no gap. I mean, they get along well, they respect each other, they communicate well together. It's amazing how well it works.
Yep. So sounds like there's quite a payoff for the child and for the senior big.
Yeah, well, I agree. Well, I think first of all, with any big brother or big sister, there's a big payoff in the mentoring. I mean, there's really improvements. They look up to their big brother and their big sister. But I think there's a little more depth even in the senior relationship. There's a lot of research done on intergenerational relationships, and I personally believe that kids need a parent and they need a grandparent in their life, and
Mhm.
a senior can fill that bill if the grandparents aren't in town, for example, um, and pass a lot of things on to the child. I grew up with my grandparents living next door, which is a whole big story, and some positive, some negative. But
Mhm.
I honestly think I learned more, especially from my grandfather, than I did from my parents. He owned a garage. He was a garage mechanic, and Once he retired, he helped me repair the family car. I learned how to repair cars, how to do all sorts of things, and very valuable. It taught me how to fish. Um, he had much more time than my dad had at the time. So, what I'm getting is I think we have so many things that we can pass on to children, our traditions, our values, our perspectives, and our wisdom.
I, I can just hear it in your voice, what he meant to you, and I think I've certainly had the same experience with parents and grandparents, and particularly around values and just how you deal with life. You know, telling just expecting to have peaks and valleys, and and writing out the valleys,
Yeah.
and continuing in a real positive lifestyle. Changing course just a little bit. I know that I'm sure you have senior friends, and I'm guessing that some are doing well and some may be having some difficulties. I was just curious to know what you learned by listening to them, and what's the best way for seniors to stick together.
All right. Let me go back a bit to, we talked about the payoff for the child. Let's talk talk a little bit about the payoff for the senior in a big relationship. Um, when you and I were doing recruitment during the or right after the pandemic, it was hard finding volunteers. I did a lot of research on what's involved in volunteering and what the benefits were. And if volunteering were a medicine, it would be a wonder drug. I mean, it in general for anybody improves your attitude, reduces your heart rate, improves your health. I mean, there's so many wonderful things about volunteering. But when you look at it for a senior citizen, I think it's even, excuse me, even more important and even more profound. For example, it combats depression and anxiety, which there's a lot of that in older adults, reduces stress. Um, and I think the most important part is it reduces isolation. Um, so many senior citizens are isolated, mostly by things that happen to them, losing a spouse or a job or something. And it helps them, really reduce that and going in the right direction. One of the Mayo Clinic things says it even increases longevity. So how's that for a miracle
That
pill?
that's great.
Yeah,
That works.
yeah. You
That's
mentioned you
smart.
mentioned you mentioned friends. My most of my friends are doing very well. I hang around with a rather active group of people, and I think that activity keeps them young and agile. I do have a lot of friends that have some very, very serious medical problems, and that's just a sign of my age. Um, I will say that they've probably handled it pretty well. Um, and some of these things are, life threatening and debilitating, which are pretty hard to handle. Um, I think what I've gotten from my friends is that my problems aren't that big. I should perhaps be a little more grateful for what I have. I have aches and pains, but I'm still energetic and still going in the right direction.
Sounds
You,
sounds like it's like you're someone that would pick up the phone and call somebody and
yeah,
say hello, or
yeah,
organize something to get together or something.
yeah. You brought together what should we do to stick together,
Yeah,
which is a really interesting question. I think I would remind people in a group of seniors what we have. Seniors aren't well respected, I don't think, in this day and age, in this country at least. But I think we have a lot to offer, and I think we need to remind each other that. I think we need to remind each other to look outward, not inward. Pretty easy to get in the habit of looking inward if you've got aches, pains, and some debilitating things, but always, look outward. And I would recommend that you push yourself to stay active. I mean, my mother passed at 99 and a half, very healthy life. And she had a motto, never turn down an invitation. And so I would add to that and say, never turn down an invitation or an opportunity. So,
Isn't that great? I think we just really look to how much our parents gave us,
yeah,
and how important it is. I think what's interesting is as you get a little older, you may reflect even more on what our parents gave us,
right,
in terms of life advice.
right.
So bless them. Well, thank you. Thanks, Bob. Um, I'm hoping that these recordings inspire people to go out and adapt to the changes that they're facing in their life, and doing it in a positive way and boldly go forward. That's kind of what we're going for here. And so I'll wind this up, and just say, until next time, remember, everybody, to take care of yourselves, and to remember it's your heart that takes you places. So, with that, Bob, thanks again for coming, and hope you'll come again. And so we'll say to our viewers, bye bye for now.
Bye, John. Nice talking
Bye
to you.
bye. Bye.